So welcome to today's webinar, where we'll be talking about how you can reject ideas quicker and grow quickest. So this is nothing but a magic show, I'd say, where you'll be learning this process of how you can reject the ideas quicker and you can grow at the quickest. So today I'm going to reveal this magic trick, and that is nothing but with the name called as design sprint. So this webinar is presented by me. My name is Vish Sande, and I've successfully run 20 plus design sprints. I have built products which have scaled from 0 to 100K users, and I lead the UI UX efforts at Mindbowser. This is a quote by Jake Knapp, and Jake Knapp is the inventor of the design sprint. So he spent almost 10 years at Google Ventures, where he created the design sprint process. So Jake has helped build products like Gmail, Google Hangouts, and Microsoft Encarta. So if you can currently see the various versions of Gmail, Google Hangouts coming out, then that have all gone through the process of design sprint. So what we'll be going throughout this webinar is understanding what's the design sprint, what's the pre-designed sprint part, and what's the exact design sprint process. So we'll quickly jump into what is a design sprint. So in a layman's word, this is nothing but like group of people. I would still call them as stakeholders who are somewhere connected to the product, come together along with the UI UX team, and they work together for 5 days. Again, that time period keeps on changing between what kind of problem we are. But let's consider in a typical scenario 5 days and try to solve that problem by like brainstorming, creating some prototype and testing that design problem. So that is nothing but a design sprint. So important note here is when can we run this design sprint? So this can be done when you are creating a new product or a service, when you want to redesign something, or let's say if you have already had a product into the market, few things are working, few things are not working, you want to introduce a new feature into the existing product or a service. So that's the time when you can use design sprint. So basically, if you see, you can use design sprint at any stage and every stage of the project. So the pre-design sprint process is something which is followed usually by the UI UX team, where they do the competitor analysis. So competitor analysis is nothing but finding the relative strength and weakness of the competitor. So whenever we start comparing the competitors' features, you start understanding if the features you are trying to build are good as are good as the competitor, or are you building something which is much more better than them. Second part is like trying and understanding the market gap. So why this market gap is important is computer analysis allows you to identify the gap in the market. It will let you organize the product and the services which are like presently not offered by your competitor and which you might be thinking of offering. And then learning from the competitor's mistakes. Of course, like in this computer analysis, we usually go through the product of your competitor, go through the reviews, user reviews, may that be on app, maybe app stores, or let's say some platforms like G2 and G2 Cloud and so on, and many other places where the competitor product is already listed. What are the reviews? Are the users facing some typical problem? Then we try to draw similarities, like are we really covering that problem into like the new product what we are building. So this competitor analysis is very, very important. So this competitor analysis, this is done usually in this way that, let's say I was doing this for one of the products, so that product is listed here. These are the competitors, and so I had just entered the features here and trying to compare, as in what things were offered by the competitor, what we are doing, are we doing it in a better way or are we not? So just trying to do that. Then is creating the user persona. So user personas are nothing but like the fictitious models of the sample users. So they're created from the real world understanding of the users they represent. And usually the personas help focus our efforts on the core characteristics of the end user, and along with that they also help in like design the best possible experience for them. So creating this having this real world understanding is very very important here, because your persona actually is created by interviewing some of your potential customers, trying to understand like what they're expecting out of that product, like just trying to understand that what's their main area, are they using any competitor product, then like what are the shortcomings of the competitor product they are facing, and so on, like getting more and more inputs from the actual user and then creating a persona around it. This also is useful because that will help you decide and prioritize the features. Again, important factor with the user personas is once we are done with the prototype, we are going to test this with the similar kind of users whose persona we have already created. So this user persona like is for one of the fitness trainer app, where we interviewed and tried to find the characteristics. What are their motivations? Like are they tech savvy or not? What are their main pain points? And just trying to get a brief about that particular user. And now here begins the main process of the design sprint. So design sprint is actually divided into 5 days, where you map on Monday, you sketch on Tuesday, you decide and storyboard on Wednesday, then you prototype on Thursday, and you have your final test on Friday. So the team, so it is always better to have the entire set of all your stakeholders throughout the design sprint process of 5 days. But like we completely understand that in most of the cases, the major stakeholders or the owners, the co-founders, they can't be available throughout all the process. So even if someone who is leading the team at like for the product, if they are available for Thursday and Friday, that's fine. But it is always good to have the full team for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This is how usually a team looks like. There is this operations manager, then the facilitator, which is usually this role. I play this role. Then the designer, someone from my team usually plays this role. The decider, this is usually the co-founder or the product manager, or you can have a separate product manager if the co-founder is present already in the team, and the engineer who is eventually going to build out this product. And there could be some other stakeholders coming from marketing team, someone coming from sales, then there could be maybe someone coming from finance backgrounds, and so on. So Monday, this first step, what we are going to do is we are going to map the things, and to start with, we set a long-term goal. So at the start of the sprint, you need to set a long-term goal. So this should serve as a beacon of light and to keep everyone moving in the right direction. So what is long-term goal? So it is very important for the entire team, right, from the UI, UX, and everyone to understand why we are doing it, and that becomes very, very crucial because throughout the next 5 days, everyone needs to be on the same page. So you need to just ask some questions to yourself, as in why we are doing this project, where do we want to be 6 months from now, or a year from now, or 5 years from now. So if like answers to these questions is nothing but a long-term goal. Then is listing down the sprint questions. So once the goal is established, it's important to ask the team or the stakeholders, like in our case, about what do they think are the obstacles in achieving the goals. So this could be like some I would say like this is like asking some getting pessimistic and asking some questions, as in like how could we fail, or how do we turn the fears into questions, and like trying to find out that. So I'll just show you one example. So let's say the goal here is in 2 years time, we will be an essential weekly laundry service. So that could be the goal. And the question here is, can we make it clear that we are not just useful for shirts and suits? So this could be one of the questions. They had that fear that maybe we get restricted to, let's say, just a certain type of clothes or something. So this could be one of the potential sprint questions. Again, this goal and sprint questions go hand in hand. Then is making a map. So listing down the customers and key players on the left, and then drawing like what's the goal, writing it towards the right, and then having some the user flow, trying to understand how the user is going to flow from the left of that chart towards the right. So I'll just give you an example. So this patient, doctor, and coordinator are the main users, and the goal here is beginning the therapy, and these are the in between steps. So we are just trying to create a map around it. So the next exercise is interesting, and that is asking the experts, because this is the section where experts in your sprint team and the guests from outside are going to be interviewed. So we usually aim at having these interviews from 15 to 30 minutes each, and trying to understand more from the experts or from the co-founder or the product manager, as in like what has worked for you, what hasn't worked, is there any specific reason that things aren't working, where do you feel from an owner standpoint, like what's the tipping point of the product, are there any specific things you want us to take care while building it, where you have learned that from your user or from your existing customers, and so on. So we mostly ask open-ended questions and try to get more and more information from the experts. Then is HMW, and that's how might we. So usually how it is done is post-it notes are distributed to everyone, and everyone with this in the team starts with writing HMW and their questions on the left, and then their one idea on each sticky note. So example is, how might we encourage users to use our app while traveling? How might we provide customer support faster? So these could be kinds of questions, and then we stick all of them onto a whiteboard. So if you remember, initially we had created a map, then we got more inputs from the asking the experts. Now we have this the HMW nodes. So we stick it back on the map wherever these points are relevant, and then we try to organize and vote. So organizing is trying to find some similar HMW questions, because in most of the cases, everyone the stakeholders are going to think in one direction. So there are chances that the ideas might be similar. So we bring them together and stick them together, and everyone gets 3 dot stickers. So the intention here is you go through that entire map on which the HMW notes are sticked. You get that dot sticker. You go and directly stick that sticker onto the idea what you really like. This is kind of giving a vote in and started thinking in a team, so in a direction, so that now you are going to get much more organized and going in a single direction rather than having too many solutions to look at. Once that's done, then you go and try to pick up a target. So this picking up target is important, usually done by the decider, trying to understand that what bigger problem are we going to solve. So you just go there and circle that entire thing where we have this map and the HMW. This should look something like this. So if you see, we had this initial map, and then there were some HMW questions which are strict, and then we picked a target, and that target is circled. So why it is important is, now we are at end of Monday, and for the next 4 days we are just going to focus on this major target. Important to understand that if you are looking at it from a product manager or from that business owner perspective, let's try and understand that we are solving many problems, but this is the primary problem we are trying to solve. And while we keep on making sure that the other solutions are also met. So it's not like we are just focusing or doing a design sprint for one single problem. It could be some smaller problems which are dependent on the bigger one. So just to summarize on Monday, so we started off day by setting a long-term goal. We listed down the sprint questions. We made a map. Then we asked the experts some questions based on those things and everything. We created the HMW notes. We sticked it back on the map. We organized it and we voted for it. And now finally towards Monday, we have picked a target. Let's go to Tuesday and see what's in the store. So on Tuesday, we are going to do the sketching. So we start off day by doing a recap from Monday. Again, why it is important is Tuesday is a fresh day. On Monday, we had gone through a lot of ideas as a team, as a like everyone, uh, like along with the stakeholders. There were a lot of ideas flowing. There were a lot of information going on, and then we narrowed down on few things. So, like someone from the team makes sure that there is like a recap going on what happened on Monday, so that now the focus again becomes clear, and then we start with the lightning demos. So the lightning demos are nothing but like usually the designer or the UI UX person from the team try to like draw some kind of sketches. So these sketches could be inspirations taken from similar products, or there could be some screens which are showing features which we are going to eventually use. So they just try to sketch them out, and like we do this lightning demos. So the next part is on the sketch, where we start by taking notes. So usually, A4 size paper sheets are given to everyone, and based on the map what we had created plus the lightning demos, everyone can take their own notes. So everyone can walk around and see this information throughout the boardroom and take their own notes. No one needs to discuss with each other. The next point is ideas. So during this ideas phase, the participants are going to like they had if you remember, we had written down some notes and everything, and based on that they're going to just sketch out few things. It need not be something like much more fancy and beautiful, but it's more, the idea here is trying to have something much more tangible. So your ideas listed down should look something like this. So if you see, there are some variations created, nothing fancy, nothing beautiful, but it's just trying to explain what the idea is. It could be flow charts, it could be using some small icons and everything, but you're just trying to sketch the things. Once that's done, the next exercise is crazy eights, and that's my favorite exercise. How we usually do it is we give A4 size paper, you fold it into three parts, and you fold it in middle, so you get 8 sections out of it, and everyone is given 8 minutes to sketch your ideas. So in each of as I said, like you get 8 rectangles out of it. I'm just going to show you that image as well. So everyone gets 1 minute for each box, and starts creating their own own ideas, sketching them out. As a facilitator, or I usually keep the tab of time, so that after 1 minute you switch to a different rectangle, and this is how the crazy eight should look like. So these are the 8 parts. You try sketching the ideas into 8 different boxes. After, at the end of each 1 minute, you switch to the next box, no matter whether you have completed it or not. And now, if you remember, we started off by having a map with HMWs. Then we voted on few things. Then we zeroed in, created a target. Then we also had a few other inputs, sketches, and everything done. Now we have the crazy eights. So we stick all of this together, which one we find good, and that is called as a solution sketch. Solution sketch could also have some handwritten post-its trying to explain the ideas. So for each and every individual, there is one solution sketch created, and that should look something like this. So if you see, you cannot identify whose solution is what, but they're just numbered. So 5, 6, 7, 8, and now this entire solution is ticked. In this case, if you see, there is a very small idea explaining it, and the rest is just some notes, and you can read it through. So that's going to be a wrap for Tuesday. Towards the end, there is a very small exercise. What we usually do is we recruit for testing. So based on, if you remember, we had created the user personas and everything. So we someone from the team takes care of recruitment. So they usually go and fetch out the users who you had already interviewed in one case, or if those people weren't available, then you go out and start recruiting people who are matching to that user personas. And that's a wrap for Tuesday. We'll quickly summarize. So we started off Tuesday by recapping from Monday. We did the lightning demos, where the ideas were sketched. Then we had this notes where everyone was going around the room, taking their own notes. Then they made some small sketches with the ideas. We did the interesting crazy eights, where in 8 minutes 8 solutions were built, and all of this was put together as a solution sketch. And now we are ready to jump into Wednesday, where the main part is going to happen, that is deciding the factors and then storyboarding. So as I said, like Wednesday is all about decide and storyboard. So we start off day just like Monday by recapping from Tuesday, as in what all things happened. Then is we put an art museum. So art museum is nothing but all the solution sketches from Tuesday are put together in the boardroom or in the meeting room on the whiteboards, and it should look something like this. So this is nothing but like an art museum. So everyone, so next point is heat map. So what we do is everyone on the team silently reviews the sketches from the art museum and then puts 1 to 3 dots on the dots on the parts which they like the most. So here it's not necessary that you like the entire solution. Out of, let's say, 7 8 solutions we have, there might be chances that you just like one part of the solution. You from the solution number 5, maybe you like the different part. So you have this warning stickers, you just go there and put your stickers and create a heat map out of it. That should look something like this. So if you see, there are some stickers here, you have some stickers here, you have some stickers here, like no one has sticked on the entire solution but trying to find out ways here. So that's how a heat map is created. Then is speed critic. So speed critic is nothing but together as a team you discuss the highlights for each case for 3 minutes each, trying and giving more inputs about like why this solution has been designed in this way and so on. That's speed critic. And the next is straw poll. So straw poll is nothing but you are doing some voting here. So there are large stickers given out, dot stickers. But if you remember, during the initial voting part or the heat map, everyone was going around and sticking their stickers at their own convenience. But during straw poll, you already had the speed critic where you got more inputs from the team. So now everyone goes and sticks it at the same time. So there is no bias, and now you can start zeroing in on a solution. So there are chances that through straw poll you are getting too many votes out of it, like the heat map, and there are like various other solution aspects where you start getting votes. So just to zero in on it, we have a super vote, and this is where the decider plays a very important role. A decider is given 3 large dot stickers with their initials written on it, and they go and stick that and give their super vote to a particular solution. And this is something how a super vote and your regular straw poll should look like. So these are the straw polls, and this green ones are the super votes. So now we have zeroed in on like 3 different kinds of solutions. So all-in-one rumble is like a very interesting exercise, where now, if you remember in the earlier step, we have 3 different solutions. So we just move all the sketches or the solution sketches with the super votes together, and we take some time to observe and find out if there are any similarities. And can we combine all of the 3 solutions into a single solution? If that is possible, that is done. If not, then we are going to, on the next day, we are going to prototype 2 to 3 different solutions. Usually, as everyone is are the stakeholders working as part of the team and understanding the same idea, same inputs and everything. So there are similarities. Like out of, let's say, the 20 plus design sprints I've done, in almost 90% of them, we were able to figure out and come to a single solution, like from all of the different solutions what we chose. Then is drawing the grid. So drawing the grid is nothing but you take one whiteboard and divide it into like few different rectangles or squares. I like you because you're going to actually start storyboarding there. I usually go with like 10 to 15 rectangles or squares and try storyboarding there. So this is like how you can create a grid. So for each and every storyboard, there is an opening scene and a closing scene. So for the opening scene, usually you need to go back to what was your sprint goal and which you had a long-term goal you had created, and what was eventually you are supposed to achieve. So that becomes your opening and closing scene. So we can just write it on a post-it and directly stick it out there. And the rest in between is we are going to fill it out with the different steps what the user is going to uh, like user is going to take in order to achieve or move from that initial opening scene to the closing scene. This could be like if you remember, we had these three different solutions. We tried to combine them together, and so these various steps could be written down based on the solution sketch what we have, or you can directly cut them out from the solution sketch and stick it out. So this is how your storyboard should look like. So there is this opening scene, there is some closing scene here, and throughout from the solution sketches you have like sketched few solutions here. I usually prefer like redrawing it on the whiteboard. The only reason being, like if I just go and stick out post-its, that you become more biased towards that particular thing and so on. So that's a wrap on Wednesday, and this is what we did throughout the day. If you remember, we started off from a recap from Tuesday. We did the art museum where all the solution sketches were sticked. We did a heat map where we sticked the dot stickers. Then we did a speed critic, discussing within the team for 3 minutes each sketch. We did the straw poll where a large dot sticker from each and every one was stick together when you went out and sticked it. And then we did a super vote by the decider, giving us three solution sketches, tried to combine them together, turn them out into a storyboard. Let's move to Thursday, very important day of prototyping. We start off with the prototype mindset, and this prototype mindset is nothing but making yourself believe that no matter what you are going to work on, how complex it is, you're still going to create a prototype out of it. So this prototype mindset is important for all the stakeholders who are going to be part of the design sprint. So throughout this entire day, what we are going to do is do nothing but build a facade. So goal here is to build a realistic facade, something which is very close to your end product, because only then you will be able to capture the actual reactions of the users on Friday. So this goal, so first we had a prototype mindset. We have had this goal set for everyone. Then is picking the right tools. So there is no thumb rule here, or like no rule set which tools you should be using for creating the prototype. There are n number of tools available in the market, some designing tools, right from Figma, XD, Exor. You can go with Keynote, you can go with Sketch, InVision, Photoshop. Like there are n number of tools available. Let's try and understand. We just have one day. We have 8 hours. There are a lot of things to be done. So we need to choose a tool which your designers or the team members can turn around things very quickly. So that is important. Once we are done with that, we divide and conquer. As I said, 8 hours, one day, doing a lot of things, too many screens to look at. So you divide the entire team into like various roles. One could be writer, one could be asset collector, one could be stitcher, and other could be interviewer. So this writer is someone who keeps on giving that initial inputs of what could go on the screens to make it attractive for the end users on Friday. The asset collector, important role, finding that right icons, right images, or like right type of content, what needs to be gone, what needs to go on that particular screen. This teacher who brings all of this together, and the interviewer who is going to play a very important role on Friday. This is something how a prototype look like. Usually, I go with building a prototype that is very near to the end product. We usually avoid colors just to like have any kind of a bias. At most, if required, we used one or two colors. And then like on Thursday, we are going to set the trial run. So trial run is once the prototype is created, you show it to the entire team. Together as a team, you go through it, try and see if there are any shortcomings. If someone comes up with some point where you feel the user might ask questions, might get confused, you try to improve that. So that trial run is important. Once that's done, then the interview script is created for what needs to be done on Friday. There are a couple of people who are responsible for those interviews from the team, and they are the people who are going to directly interact with the users who are going to come in on Friday, and then sending out the reminders to those users that okay, we have a meeting set for tomorrow. So just to summarize Thursday, so we started off with the prototype mindset. We built a facade. Then we picked up the right tools. We decided that we are going to divide and then conquer the thing. We did a trial run, and we have the interview script in place and the reminder sent out. Let's go to Friday, the last but the most important day, and that is the test day. So whatever we did in the last 4 days is going to show its result on Friday. So first things first, setting up the setup. So usually to capture the review of the end user, we go with like setting up some cameras or microphones. Usually the panel is divided into two parts. One who sits with the users, and the rest of the panel sits into another room, who can see the real time feedback of the user, or real time they can observe how the users are going to interact with that prototype from another room, and the interviewer and the actual users who are going to check sit in another room. So setting up that setup. Then this is a 5-act interview. So we start with friendly welcome. So the interviewer had created a script, so they try and explain them uh, that what's their exact role and why their role is important, and and this throughout this entire interview process, how they are going to go around with it. Then is asking the context questions. So starting the interview with small talks and then gradually moving towards the questions from the interview. So usually we try to build the conversation around it, so as to make sure that the that end user doesn't feel like this is more of an interview, but it's more of a conversation, and they start opening up, telling their experiences with the product and so on. Then we introduce the prototype, telling them that what this is going to be, what's the what we are expecting out of them. Also giving them a heads up that there are a few things in the prototype that might not work because you just did everything in 8 hours. So a few things might not have. Just giving them a heads up around it. Then is the task and nudges. So we let the user play around with the actual prototype, and these nudges are very important because uh, you keep on asking the user some follow-up questions. So if they didn't figure out something, they did something else, you just keep on asking the follow-up questions, and then what made you do that, or why did you do this, why didn't you choose other options, or why did you choose this particular option or this particular route. So asking these follow-up questions and trying to get more and more input from them. Once all of this is done, everything gets recorded on the cameras. Your team sitting in the other room is also taking their own notes. Then you debrief, trying to tell them what's the next thing for them, thanking them, and just giving them some token, a gift, or something like that. You go back. What the rest of the team does during this process is they keep taking notes throughout this process. They keep on as I said, like there are cameras set that keep on taking notes, observing the user, what things they did right, what things they did not do right. This can be translated into some sticky notes and stick on a whiteboard, and then we look for patterns where the like were there any few things missing, like did, let's say, all the users who were interviewed, did they do something very wrong, or was there a like pattern for all of this? Just trying to understand, is this did we sketch or prototype in the right direction? And then there's a wrap up. So this comparing that customer feedback with the long term goals is very important, and that's what the wrap up does. So if you remember, in the initial part, I said two things. One is we created that goal, what we want to achieve through all of this, and we had that user persona. So that goal and the feedback from the user persona, now that has been matched with each other, and we found out whether we were successful in achieving the goal through whatever prototype we created. There are times that this we like the feedback from the user is not matching exactly with the goal. So at such times you create a plan. This plan is nothing but these are the you can create or run a small sprint for it, make those changes based on the feedbacks or anything, go back, make those changes in the prototype, do a trial run, test it out, show it back to the users, get a feedback, and then again do the wrap up where you compare it back. And so that's a wrap on Friday where set up you set up the setup, you did the 5 act interviews, look for the patterns, did the wrap up, and came up with a plan. And now you are at a position where you, if we connect it back to the important topic, what we were looking at is, did you really succeed in building out that idea? Like the normal approach where you usually design, build out that entire product, show it to the users, and if you're failing at that time, there is a lot of loss in terms of efforts, in terms of money, in terms of time, and like whatever things you have put for it. But in case of design sprints, I usually say that uh, you fail very cheaply with design sprints. This is a shout out to our sponsor, and the sponsor is CodeGrip. So it is an automated code review platform. You get a 1 month of free trial. You can just try it out. Go to codegrip.tech, try it out, or you can just drop them an email on team@codegrip.tech to avail the one free trial. And this is exclusive just for the users of, like, the participants of this webinar. From based on what 20 plus design sprints what I've run till now. So this is coming out of my experience, which says that every design sprint is successful. You either end up with a perfect prototype of your product, or with a sigh of relief that you failed early rather than after building the final product. So now I'm opening it up for question and answers. And you also have my LinkedIn email and phone number. You can connect with me. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand. You can see a raise your hand button. Just click that. Or if you want, you can just type your questions into Q&A, and that's fine. Okay. I will quickly check the chat box. No worries. Okay. You mentioned 2 or 5 years is what we should think about, but is a sprint a viable method to chart such a long-term project? Because I feel sprints are more rapid and okay. So Ashima, maybe I don't know where this 2 or 5 years came from, but what intention here is we are doing it for 2 to 5 days and not years. We aren't doing it for years or something. Okay. The second question is, are sample or target customers a part of day 2 Tuesday just for validation? No. So usually what you do is the target customer comes in on the day 5, that is the test day. The only reason being, if you make them part of that entire journey, their reviews might be biased, because now that's how a human behavior is. When you start spending time with that product, you fall in love with that product itself, and then eventually you won't give any bad reviews. But what we want here is, we want the honest reviews, so they come on day 5. And the third question is, approximately how much would be the cost for a sprint project? So that actually depends on the idea and like what problem we are trying to solve. But I think you can just get in touch with the Mindbowser team, and like, or maybe just Mosin, and maybe they can help you out with it. So someone from this sales team can get in touch with you, Ashima. Okay, great. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We'll keep it open for 30 more seconds if anyone has questions. Okay. Yeah. So there is one more question. The projects you conducted were mostly India-based or any international project? So I've done it as a mix. It's like 60-40 mix, I would say, or like 60% I've done it for the US clients, and 40% I've done it for the Indian clients as well. We have also did projects from the Indian clients where the end customers are going to be from US or like the international market. We have also done it that way as well. Okay, all right then. So yeah, so you'll get a feedback form from the team. Maybe you can fill it out and let us know if there are any questions. Oh, okay, okay. So I think there's one question from David, and who should I include on my design sprint team? Yes. So design sprint team, usually you should include people who are directly related to the idea or who are going to eventually work on that idea. So I usually have run design sprints where there were co-founders coming in. There were people from the marketing or the sales team, in case the product was already out, who were talking to the real-time customers and trying and understanding what their feedback is. But if you are doing it for the first time, for the first time, then you the one who has made that has that idea into their mind, who is clear about that idea, they should be sufficient. Uh, the the supporting question asked is, does the whole team need to be present for the entire design sprint, like the product operation? No, the whole team doesn't need to be present. As I said, everyone's is busy, and that getting that 5 calendar days off from everyone's calendars like becomes really hectic, I understand. So having that in major stakeholders on the first 3 days is enough, or at least like day 1 and 2. And for the rest of the days, someone who takes the decision on the team can be there. We don't need everyone on the team. Yeah. So interesting question. What will I get after design sprint? Is it a prototype? Yes, that's absolutely correct. uh, Actually, more you get two things. One is you get a prototype which you have uh, which the users have got gone through and everything, and you get a feedback along with that, whether this idea is going to be good, bad, or not, like what is going to be. And of course, you get a lesson for life, whether you're thinking in the right direction. Like if you were supposed to fail, that's a lesson, I would say. But in either case, like design sprint becomes successful. Okay, will deliverables from my sprint inform my product roadmap? I'm building a telehealth platform. Yes. The short answer to it is yes. And the long answer is, of course, because based on the prototype what we are creating. So let's understand from the design sprint, if you are doing it a short design sprint of 5 days, we also do a long design sprints where we cover each and every screen that goes on for around 3 weeks or 4 weeks as well. That covers most of the screens. But if it is a short design sprint, then we solve the major problem, and during the next 2 to 3 weeks, we can build out the rest of the screens, which are dependent screens based on what problem we solved. So yes, that can go into your product roadmap. Okay, nice question. So the prototype will be created during the design sprint. Will this be production ready? Can I hand it to my tech team? Yes, it will be production ready, because just in case we are doing a 5 days design sprint, there are less chances this becomes production ready, because as I said, we aren't covering all the screens. We have just solved the problem for the major problem. But so what design sprints we create at Mindbowser, they go around for like 3 to 4 weeks, uh, where the initial time period will be spending with you, and the rest time period the team works individually and then starts reviewing along with you and your team. So at the end of it, that becomes production ready. It's just that we end up with a prototype that is, let's say, black and white. There is just a color theme that needs to be added to it, and then you can hand it over to the tech team who can take care of the development and everything. Okay. How do I get in touch with you or Mindbowser? What I need to submit my design files? I am a first-time entrepreneur. Yes, so you can get in touch with me. My email address is mentioned here, wish.s@mindbowser.com. You can just drop me an email, or you can also drop an email to sales@mindbowser. Uh, or maybe Mosin, you want to like type your email address in the chat box. Even that's fine. You can get in touch with any one of us, and so we'll direct you to the right people and we'll get started. You don't Okay, to start with, we can set up a call with you and we can discuss the idea, and then later on the call we can decide what things we'll need from you. But it's usually even a one pager idea is enough to get started, so we can like that acts as a starting point and we can start discussing more things. Okay. Yeah. So David is saying, thanks, Vish. I'm reaching out. Looking forward to your note, David.